A woman at the mall demanded I hand over the jacket I was about to buy because it would look better on me. When I refused, she ripped it from my hands and snapped, "Find something else, this is mine now." The store manager walked over as I smirked and said, "Then let's see who actually gets to buy it." It was a brisk Saturday afternoon in Chicago, and I decided to head to the Magnificent Mile to find a new jacket for the approaching winter. The streets were bustling with shoppers, and the stores were alive with the hum of conversations and the rustling of shopping bags. After weaving through the crowds, I entered a well-known department store renowned for its elegant displays and extensive collection of winter wear. The warm air inside was a welcome relief from the chilly winds outside. I made my way to the women's outerwear section, my eyes scanning the racks for something that matched both my style and budget. After several minutes of browsing, I spotted it. A navy blue wool jacket with a tailored fit and classic design. It was the last one in my size, and I felt a surge of excitement as I reached out to take it off the rack. Just as my fingers closed around the hanger, a voice from behind interrupted me. "That jacket is stunning. It would look much better on me." I turned to see a woman standing close behind me. She appeared to be in her late 40s, with meticulously styled blonde hair and an air of sophistication. Her attire screamed designer labels, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting her way. I offered a polite smile. "It is a beautiful piece. I've been searching for a jacket like this." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Yes, but I believe it would suit me far better. Why don't you choose something else?" Her tone was not suggestive but rather expectant, as if her preference alone should dictate my decision. I was taken aback by her audacity. "I found this jacket first and intend to purchase it." Without warning, she reached out and grabbed the jacket, pulling it from my hands. "Find something else," she snapped. "This is mine now." A surge of disbelief and frustration coursed through me. I couldn't fathom the entitlement she displayed. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I met her gaze. "Let's see who actually gets to buy it," I said calmly. At that moment, a store manager approached us. He was a tall man with a neatly trimmed beard, exuding an air of authority. "Is there a problem here?" he inquired, his eyes shifting between the two of us. Before I could respond, the woman launched into a tirade. "Yes, there is. This person is trying to take the jacket I was about to purchase. I had it first." I was stunned by her blatant lie. "Actually, I was holding the jacket when she took it from me," I countered, my voice steady but firm. The manager looked between us, assessing the situation. "Do either of you have proof of who had the jacket first?" he asked. I sighed, realizing this could become a prolonged dispute. "Look, it's the last one in this size. Why don't we let fate decide? Flip a coin or something." The woman scoffed. "That's ridiculous. I deserve this jacket." The manager held up a hand. "Actually, we have a policy for situations like this. If two customers want the same item and there's only one left, we offer it to the person who was in possession of it first." I smiled. "That would be me." The woman's face turned an alarming shade of red. "This is unacceptable. Do you know who I am?" The manager remained unfazed. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's the store policy." She huffed, throwing the jacket at me. "Fine. Keep your ugly jacket." With that, she spun on her heel and stormed out of the store, leaving a trail of shocked shoppers in her wake. I turned to the manager. "Well, that was something." He chuckled. "You handled that well. Enjoy your jacket." I purchased the jacket and left the store, feeling a mix of amusement and disbelief. Chicago never failed to surprise me. Little did I know, this was only the beginning of an unexpected series of events that would make this shopping trip unforgettable. As I exited the store, the crisp Chicago wind reminded me of why I needed this jacket in the first place. I decided to grab a coffee from a nearby cafe to warm up before heading home. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee was inviting, and I found a cozy corner to sit and relax. As I sipped my coffee, I couldn't help but replay the incident in my mind. The woman's audacity was baffling, but I was proud of how I stood my ground. However, my moment of reflection was interrupted when I noticed the same woman from the store standing outside the cafe, staring at me through the glass like she had unfinished business. I wasn't scared. More irritated than anything. But the way she stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on me, made my stomach twist a little. She didn't come in. Just stood there, lips tight, for maybe a full minute before turning and disappearing into the crowd. I tried to brush it off. Probably just a sore loser. But something about her stare felt off, too intense for someone mad about a jacket. Later that evening, I was pulling into the parking garage under my building when I noticed a car idling near the entrance. Not weird for downtown. But the second I passed it, the lights flipped on and it started following. Slow, deliberate. I parked in my usual spot and just sat there, watching the rearview mirror. The car rolled past and out the other side of the garage. Maybe coincidence. Maybe not. The next day, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. No envelope. Just a folded white piece of paper. In thick black ink it said, "You should have walked away." No name. No other message. My blood ran cold. I looked around the garage. Nothing but concrete and silence. I took the note up to my apartment, took photos of it, then shredded it. By Monday, my Instagram was weird. Random follows. Creepy DMs from accounts with no photos and weird names. Stuff like, "Hope the jacket's worth it. You think you're safe?" And one that just said, "TikTok." I locked my accounts down. Told my manager at work. I wasn't some social media influencer, just a normal person who bought a jacket on sale. But this was starting to feel personal. That same afternoon, I went back to the store. I wanted to talk to the manager, the guy who saw it all go down. Maybe they had security footage. Maybe this woman was a known problem. But he wasn't there. Instead, I got a younger assistant manager who barely looked up from her computer. "Sorry, he's off for the next few days. Anything I can help you with?" I explained carefully about the incident and the follow-up harassment. She frowned but didn't seem shocked. "Was the woman blonde, tall, wearing a camel coat?" she asked. "Yeah." She leaned in, voice low. "That sounds like Veronica Hall. She's a regular. Kind of intense. Rich husband. Known for causing scenes." I blinked. "You know her name?" She nodded. "Oh yeah? She's infamous here. Threatened to sue us once over a chipped fingernail." "Great." I thanked her and left the store with a strange mix of relief and dread. At least now I had a name. But Veronica Hall? That name sounded like someone who got lawyers involved when their salad had too much dressing. I Googled her that night. And fell into a rabbit hole. Turns out, Veronica was married to Alan Hall, a real estate developer. Big money. Their photos were all over social pages, galas, charity events, ribbon cuttings. But the deeper I looked, the more I found weird articles and half-deleted forum posts about her being unstable. One thread talked about her throwing a drink in someone's face at a fundraiser. Another said she once keyed a car over a parking spot. But none of it was big enough for news. Just rumors. Whispers. Stuff rich people can bury fast. Then I saw one comment that stuck with me. "Mess with Veronica Hall and you'll wish you hadn't. Girl's nuts and her husband covers her tracks." I screenshotted everything. Just in case. The next few days were quiet. No notes. No strange cars. My inbox calmed down. I started thinking maybe it was over. Then, one morning, I woke up to pounding on my door. I checked the peephole, 2 cops. My stomach flipped. I opened the door slowly, already confused. "Ma'am, are you my name?" one asked. "Yes? We received a report of theft. You're going to need to come with us." My jaw dropped. "What? Theft? What are you talking about?" They wouldn't explain more. Just that it involved a complaint from a local department store and I had to answer questions downtown. At the station, it got clearer and weirder. Veronica had filed a police report saying I stole the jacket. She claimed I grabbed it from her hands, shoved her into a rack, and ran out of the store. She had bruises as evidence. I nearly laughed out loud, but it wasn't funny. Not with cops treating it like it could be real. Thankfully, the original manager had returned and provided his statement. Security footage backed me up. I was cleared. No charges. But the damage was done. Veronica Hall tried to have me arrested. This wasn't about a jacket anymore. This was war. After I was cleared, the detective who handled the case, Detective Lang, pulled me aside before I left the station. He had that look like he wasn't supposed to say anything but couldn't help himself. Off the record, he said, lowering his voice. This isn't her first time pulling something like this. I frowned. You mean lying to the police? He nodded slowly. It's complicated. She's filed 5 reports in the last 3 years. Always vague. Always just believable enough not to immediately dismiss. But nothing ever sticks. So why hasn't anyone stopped her? Lang gave a tight shrug. You'd be surprised what money and good lawyers can bury. Just be careful. She's not stupid. I left the station with my head spinning. How many other people had she done this to? I wanted to be angry, to scream, to call her out publicly. But something told me this wasn't a battle I'd win with rage. So I did the only thing I could think of. I started documenting everything. Dates. Screenshots. Names. Every weird car I saw. Every suspicious follow online. Everything Veronica related went into a folder, one for digital files, one for printed copies. I backed it all up to 2 external hard drives. A week passed with no more direct contact. Then came the email. It was from a fake account, but the message was clear. I can ruin you. Walk away now or you'll lose more than a jacket. That night, someone egged my car. I reported it, but without a camera in the lot, there was no proof. The officers barely blinked. Probably just kids. Sure. Then my work email started acting up. I got a call from IT. Someone had tried to access my inbox from an IP in the Gold Coast area. The same area where Veronica lived. They changed my passwords and told me to be cautious. I was already way past cautious. I made a decision. I drove back to the store. Found the assistant manager who remembered her. Asked if anyone ever officially complained about Veronica. She hesitated before saying, "Not formally. People usually just try to avoid her." That's when I noticed a quiet woman folding scarves nearby. She gave me a look, one of those I know what you're dealing with looks. I approached her cautiously, asked if she'd ever had issues with Veronica. She glanced around, then leaned in. She threatened to sue me once for looking at her wrong. Told me she could get me fired with a phone call. I've worked here 8 years. Never been afraid of anyone until her. I asked her if she'd be willing to talk. Even just anonymously. She said maybe. It wasn't much, but it was something. Then, something shifted. I got a phone call, unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Listened to it later. It was a man's voice. Calm. Too calm. Stay out of Veronica's way. We're watching. There was a pause, and then the line clicked dead. I played it again. Then again. It wasn't Veronica. But I had a feeling I knew who it was, Alan Hall. Her husband. The man who cleaned up for her. That night I didn't sleep. I installed security cameras inside my apartment and outside my door. Bought a dash cam. Switched routes to work. Paranoia? Maybe. But nothing about this felt normal anymore. Then, like a storm vanishing mid-rage, it all went quiet. No more messages. No more notes. No more weird cars. Nothing. I didn't believe for a second that it was over. It felt more like a setup, like the silence before something bigger. And I was right. 3 weeks after the voicemail, I was at work when my boss called me into his office. His face was serious. Too serious. "Can you explain this?" he asked, sliding a manila envelope across his desk. Inside were screenshots. Edited screenshots. Fake messages. Conversations that never happened, supposedly between me and a vendor we worked with, making it look like I'd accepted some sort of kickback or favor. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "I didn't write any of this," I said, my voice shaking. "None of this is real. We've opened an investigation," he replied. "But until it's resolved, we're suspending your access." I was stunned. Speechless. I went home in a daze. Sat on the edge of my bed for what felt like hours. Whoever sent that envelope wanted me out of the way. And they knew exactly how to hit me where it hurt. Veronica Hall wasn't just playing games anymore. She was trying to destroy my life. I spent that whole night in silence, sitting in the dark, just thinking. This woman had tried to ruin my name, my job, my safety, over a jacket. No, not even over the jacket. Over not getting her way. I thought about backing down. Thought about letting it go, moving away, starting fresh. But I was past that. She had dragged me into something I didn't ask for, and I knew if I didn't stand up, she'd just keep doing it, to someone else. So I fought back. I hired a private investigator. I scraped together what I had in savings and found a guy through a friend's recommendation, quiet, discreet, but effective. I told him everything. Gave him every screenshot, voicemail, plate number, even the rumor threads. Within 2 weeks, he found out more than I ever could on my own. Veronica Hall had a pattern. Lawsuits filed, then mysteriously dropped. Fake police reports. Threats. She'd been caught on security footage keying a woman's Tesla outside a yoga studio 3 months ago. But the footage vanished after her husband made a donation to the studio. There was a former maid who claimed Veronica pushed her down the stairs. A neighbor who said Veronica poisoned her dog. A real estate agent who quit mid-sale and moved states because she made my life hell. But here's where it turned. The investigator got in contact with someone inside Alan Hall's company. A former assistant. Anonymous. Said Veronica wasn't just unstable, she was out of control. Alan had been paying off people left and right to cover her meltdowns. But his company? It was under federal audit for tax fraud. They were already being watched. All I needed to do was give the right people a little push. I collected everything. Sent it to a reporter I'd followed for years, someone who wrote about corruption, money, and power in Chicago. I didn't do it anonymously. I gave her my name, the whole story. I even offered my photos, my receipts, the store footage. She didn't promise anything. Said she had to verify it all. But she listened. She was careful. 2 weeks later, the story broke. Not just about the jacket. Not just about me. But the whole pattern. Veronica's history. Alan's business. The police reports. The threats. The lies. And somehow, the reporter found 2 more women who had dealt with Veronica, and one had been hospitalized after an accidental fall Veronica caused during a fight in a hotel lobby. The city exploded. Within days, Veronica's face was everywhere. Alan's company went into lockdown. Federal agents raided his offices. Investors pulled out. Their mansion was swarmed with cameras. And suddenly, Veronica's smirk wasn't working anymore. I watched the news the night she was arrested. She was screaming at the officers, kicking her heels, mascara running. It didn't feel satisfying. Not yet. But it came. Because a week later, the same store, the one where it all began, put out a statement. They'd banned Veronica for life. They named me in the statement, publicly apologizing for what happened and announcing they were donating $50,000 to a local domestic violence shelter in my name. My job reinstated me. HR cleared my name. My boss apologized in person, handed me a letter with the suspension formally retracted. But the real ending? That came a month later, in court. I sat in the back row, watching Veronica on the stand. She looked smaller. Not in size, just in presence. Like all the lies had finally hollowed her out. She tried to play the victim, claimed stress, mental illness, misunderstanding. It didn't work. The judge saw right through her. And when he read the verdict, when he said the words guilty of filing a false police report, guilty of harassment, guilty of defamation, I felt something deep in my chest crack open. Not joy. Just relief. After the hearing, her lawyer approached me. Told me she was considering a public apology. I didn't even blink. Tell her to keep it, I said. I walked out of that courtroom into the cold air, wearing the same navy blue jacket. The one she said would look better on her. It wasn't just a coat anymore. It was a reminder that sometimes the loudest, richest, most dangerous people can still fall. And sometimes standing your ground, over something as small as a jacket, can burn an empire to the ground.